This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital. It is Wednesday, 13th July, 2023. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. A second case of monkeypox virus was confirmed via laboratory testing earlier yesterday. The patient is a young adult male. The Ministry of Health says the relevant county medical officer of health is currently conducting investigations and has initiated the local public health response, which includes home isolations and contact tracing for the patient. Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, Khadija Amin, expresses her concern on the increase in home invasions and robberies within the St. Augustine constituency. She says bandits and criminals are now patrolling in large gangs late at night and early in the morning, scoping out homes of residents. Several incidents were caught on CCTV cameras by residents in the Spring Village, Paget, and Valsine South areas. Well-defined policies and extensive stakeholder consultations are cited as key factors in reducing conflicts or even lawsuits which can arise relating to the current education system. It's a point raised by Technical Advisor, Division of Education, Research and Technology, during the afternoon power drive on 102 FM yesterday. Ms. Seconds said young people want to express themselves and should be part of a discussion on matters which will eventually impact on them, their parents and guardians. The Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, BAT, says several safety measures have been put in place to apprehend any individual who engages in any type of criminal activity against the bank or its customers. BATT says it remains concerned about the recent reports of robberies that seem to be related to cash withdrawals from various financial institutions. With regard to new fraud typology, BAT said there have been no shimmering incidents across the banks in Trinidad and Tobago. In news of the region, American actor and producer Samuel L. Jackson was spotted on vacation with basketball legend Magic Johnson in Italy, donning the Reggae Boys Adidas gear. Jackson is the highest grossing actor of all times, having collectively grossed over US $27 billion worldwide for his works. Adidas became Jamaica's official kit supplier in January of this year. And internationally, Hugh Edwards has been named as the BBC presenter facing allegations over alleged payments for sexually explicit images from a teenager. His wife, Vicky Flines, issued a statement on his behalf saying he was suffering, quote, mental health issues, end quote, and is now receiving inpatient hospital care. The BBC is facing fresh allegations of inappropriate behavior, or the BBC star is facing fresh allegations of inappropriate behavior by Edwards toward more junior staff. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning. Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right, that's exactly who we are. Good morning, neighbors. Good morning, neighbors. All right, one more time. Just for good luck. Good morning, neighbors. Welcome to the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital with studios at 88 to 90 Abercrombie Street in Port of Spain, Trinidad. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, it will be just Richard Rakupa Singh and myself. We got Ruben in the background. Today is Thursday. Paul said Wednesday, but it is, he's on some sort of vacation. Thursday, the 13th day of July. It is almost to the middle of the month already. This year is just zooming by. It is certainly just zooming by. All right. At this time, let's get into the WTs. Yep, as usual, traffic. It's going to take me 3 seconds to do. So start from now. I got nothing to tell you about, just coming into Port of Spain. There you go. That's a traffic update. Just getting into Port of Spain by Bagwin Things and NP as you head up towards the traffic lights by Abattoir Road by the market and heading towards the lighthouse. You got some there. All right, that's it. Bagwin Things and NP nothing else. Traffic lights by approaching O'Meara Road. Got some volume, but that's it. All right. Weather-wise, it is 25 degrees at both Trinidad and Tobago. Yep, 25. Let's see. Met Office has not updated their weather this morning. Last update was at 4:13 yesterday. But they did say it's going to be hazy and windy, but some partly cloudy intervals accompanied by isolated showers, especially during the morning. There's a low to medium chance that some of these showers could become heavy and or thundery. This evening will be fair except for a few isolated showers developing after midnight near southern coastal areas of Trinidad. All right. That's the weather forecast for today for Trinidad and Tobago. All right. But let's use Santa's hellos. That's your WTs. Let's use Santa's hellos on this Thursday, this Thursday. Maria Marva, good morning to you. She said, good morning, guys, and happy birthday to my dear friend, Elizabeth Pascal. So, Elizabeth, have a great one. Wendy Ann, DJ Ray out in Delaware, good morning. Garcillian Valencia, good morning. Oliver Man Warren, have a safe one today. Thank you. Ollie D. Pierre, good morning. Miss Ingrid in a scorching Tucson, Arizona. Good morning to you. Rena Boodoo Jennings. Good morning, neighbors. Carol Guevara. Good morning. Ms. Maloney. Good morning to you as well. And good morning to all those watching us and logged on YouTube, such as Marcia Rock, Josie Richardson, top of the morning, gents. Edwin Marshall. Good morning. Brenda Isaac, good morning. Lonely Steve. Yep, I am the Lone Ranger. I wish I could play that sound effect, but because on YouTube, I can't play any of those. So I am the Lone Ranger. Hi-ho silver away. All right, so that's it. I'm going to open up the line. Richard is going to join me at 6:30. And I cannot talk nonstop till 6:30, so I certainly need your help. My throat is just going to be wrecked for the rest of the day. It does, That's very croaky. All right, so we'll open up the lines, 222-8255. North Americans, you could call me 866-525-1099. I actually picked up a paper this morning, and I haven't done this in so long, pick up a paper. But, yesterday, this week has been quite a disturbing week. It has. Good morning, The Great. I think most of you all would have seen the couple of videos circulating on social. One being this firebombing of a house, and it just, I don't know. And I saw the videos of them, a bunch of young men, clearly with no regard for anything else, life or property, firebombing a house, $1 million in damage. And, and one video I saw with them running up a street with a beer bottle case. I'm sure it's full of lots of cocktails. And then an individual standing guard with a high-powered weapon. And nobody saw this to call 999, to call the police. There's a video of the shooting of the young man in San Juan in a closed store. There's another shooting in San Juan that we all saw video for a guy in a kind of red shirt. I don't know what is going on in this country. I really don't. We also saw the videos of Spring Village, a bunch of men at 3 o'clock in the morning walking around looking to do what they want to do. I don't know, I really don't know. I really don't know what to say. If somebody could tell me what is TNT becoming, and how they can fix it, maybe the powers that be, way above my pay grade, could, come up with some sort of solution to protect the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. Going through the paper this morning. No, my lines are open. Call me. I cannot talk for so long. you know, I'm also watching this morning of a man that went out to help some guys um, that he thought had car trouble, and they held him up and beat him. What's going on? All right, we have some calls. Let's go. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Miss Sampson. How are you?
Steve, I am disturbed. Now I see a lot of videos, but this video stuck with me because these people are
Which one?
operating.
You
The
have to
one
ask which video.
when they bombed the house,
Yeah.
it stuck with me because these guys are operating untouchable.
Well, clearly, as we realize, they have no fear, and they
Untouchable,
know they can get away with it.
I understand people was in the house,
5 members of a family were inside the house.
so they
That's
couldn't
why I
come
said
out.
there's no regard for life and property.
What if they had come out? They would have shot them then. So they had us to sit down in there in the fire.
I don't know, Miss Sampson. I really don't know what's going on. I hate to start off with bad news, but it's not bad news. It's worrying.
It is. But Charlie, the judicial system have to do something. 3 strikes and you're out, start to hang. We can't go on so, Charlie. We cannot. We ain't have no, they have too much guns here, number one. And now, just imagine you open your door and you see 5 big men coming. You might just collapse and dead one time. They're not moving by one.
I don't know.
Is 11 of them?
Yeah, but um, listening to news last night, they were saying that maybe this call came from prison. Where are the jammers? Where are the cellular jammers?
Charlie, I think the judicial system could clean up this mess.
I don't know.
Do something, no bail, 3 strikes, you're out, two to hang, make room for, make it hard, no bail. Something they had to do, man. Hang who is to hang instead of they looking to free murderers. Hang who is to hang, let
Yeah.
these go inside. You're going in one.
Yeah, but they have to catch them first, Miss Sampson. You have to catch them. I mean, yes, police has captured some individuals and vehicles and so on and running away, but it's just overwhelming now. Thanks, Miss Sampson.
That video stuck with me, but
it's a bad one. Thank you.
That is true. That break the camel back.
All right. Have a good day. Talk to you in a bit. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Steve Khan.
Morning, pal. How you going?
Not too bad. I really want to know why the government, and it is time for the government to call a state of emergency. While we know that the state of emergency is not everywhere at all, it will give the protective services some time to regroup and rethink and put things in place. Why all the CARICOM countries has used the state of emergency sometime or the other? Why this government does not want to use the state of emergency? That is the only permanent help at this time.
Maybe that should be our poll. Should we have a state emergency? But there are so many factors when it comes to thank you so much for calling.
Okay, Charles.
All right. Why everybody calling me Charles this morning? Charles, come to work. Everybody call him Charles. Thank you. Yeah, but the state of emergency has a lot of repercussions on it. So it's not something just a call. Yeah, that is something they have to think through financially, being one for the country of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, Steve.
Morning, buddy. What's happening?
I'm good. I'm listening to you, and I want to say I agree with you this morning. Our country has descended into a place of mayhem and chaos. Every morning you get up, you could guarantee yourself you must hear about 2, 3, 4 murders.
Mm-hmm.
And area that was once considered safe is no longer safe. And when you have a community police taking things personal and saying she ain't talking to a particular media house because it doesn't report good stuff about her personally.
You know, I have an issue with that, right?
Right? And And when you have people continue to defend foolishness, right? It pains you to know street and the people is going on a road. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. A month from the day, a month and a day from the day, we
Yeah, but
have to stand up and make a difference. Because if we continue to defend party and think we will continue in this chaotic situation. Because where is the Minister of National Security?
and that is another thing, eh? When
Yes,
we go to the polls, we are put into office the CEO of our country
right.
to run our country. We now are the employees. Let's look at it that way. So our
We are the employees.
CEO is
We
now
cannot
going to
complain.
put in place, like for every company, they're going to have somebody in charge of finance, somebody in charge of the surroundings, somebody in charge of this, that, whatever the case may be. And that is what we have to look at. To me,
Exactly.
we have to look for somebody that could run. I don't care about party, yeah? But we need to have somebody that could keep us safe, that could be profitable, have a country, because every company needs to have a profit. So Trinidad and Tobago needs to have a profit. We need to get
Correct.
roads paved, so we have to make money to get the roads paved.
We are the
I am just
employers.
tired of hearing we have no money.
Correct. We are the employers. Look at our capital. Look at the condition, and you have one particular organization running the Port of Spain Corporation for umpteen years, and nothing or little has been done. We are the employers.
Port of Spain is a disgrace,
It's a total disgrace.
total
Total
disgrace. I mean, we just had the CARICOM's head here.
disgrace.
I don't know if any of them took a drive through Port of Spain and see the condition Port of Spain is in.
You remember in 2008 when former President Obama came for 2009, I think it was, like for the Summit of the Americas. You remember what the then government wanted to do? Build up a wall to put not to show Beatum on these areas.
Yeah, well, they wanted to put a boom, but they did clean up the country. Well, they did clean up the east-west corridor from Piaco to Port of Spain.
So,
I actually saw street sweepers. I had to pass one. I said, hey, look, a street sweeper. Where is that street sweeper now? I don't know.
so
The
we
facade of the country needs to change.
we consider international people, international
Yeah.
dignity is more important than our local people. And I want to remind the country.
But you're right about that. I've always said that. They want to clean up for international people, but us living here have to live in the slum.
And I want
And
to
it goes to, of course, this didn't happen now in this party, It happened right across the board.
and I
Thanks,
want to
buddy.
say- yeah, thank you.
All righty. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Steve. How are you doing by yourself?
Big guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the Lawn Ranger. Let me get that sound effect.
Well, I'm not on to. Listen, let me get this out of the way. Yes, we have mass shootings in America because I know that the first thing people are going to call you and say, why don't
Yeah,
we
you all
mass
had,
shootings?
for the year, you all have over 320.
Right. So that's out of the way now. No, let's get back to Trinidad. What I saw yesterday.
Which
The
one?
gangs, no. The one with the 11 guys going to burn down the house and the men stay on guard with high-powered rifle and all that.
I don't know where we live in.
Well, let me tell you, that's how it started off in Haiti. If you don't know, that's how the gangs do it in Haiti. They move like that with guns and they take over whatever they want to take over. And you see that the gangs in Trinidad, they are getting, well, they don't care about the police anymore. And when you really talk about this, people talk about legislation, and the opposition not fought back in the government. Right now, you don't need legislation. You need action with boots on the ground. That's what you need right now. Immediate action. Legislation will come after. You need to do operations, security operations, make raids, whatever, and stop this because it is getting out of hand. And if people don't want to accept that, they better had accepted because the gangs are showing no fear of authorities anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw the video on the weekend with the Mercedes Benz. Those guys strolled
Yes,
out
we
of
saw.
their vehicle,
Yeah,
did what they had
yeah.
to do, strolled back in the vehicle, and they drove off slowly. No,
You know what?
big guy, we have a lot of cameras in this country. 3/4 of them are not working. That should be a priority. As Richard has said a million times, they left that mall. They had to come down to, let's say, by KFC, by Maraval. I'm sure
Yeah.
cameras would have picked that up if they were working and able to follow. But in the meantime, while the cameras are doing that, a radio signal goes out to all police cars. Look out for so and so in this vicinity. Big guy, every day, 24/7, there's a police car parked on the priority bus route by Parsley Street. And there's another one that's parked up on the bus route. You see it from the main road, just before where the old CGA used to be. That's 2 vehicles, 4 or more police officers. What are they doing? The crime is not only on Betham anymore, you know.
Air condition. Get in a condition. They park up in the car, it can't be hot. They have the car running.
Now the car running.
Condition. Yeah, gas in condition, but something has to be done. And that's all the guy talk about a state of emergency. As you said, I don't know what things go with that, if that will help, if it's a partial state of emergency or curfew at night or something, but something has to be done because it is getting out of hand. And if people in Trinidad do not want to accept that, be careful how far this could go. Because when you see groups getting together, they feel strengthened. You know,
of course.
They have the guns.
Strengthen numbers.
Next thing they'll be going for the police stations. You know, that's where they go after next. You know, that is they start to raid police stations. You know, so people in Trinidad better wake up and do something. Get the government to get up off of the behinds and do something about this problem. It is out of hand.
Yeah,
totally out of hand right now. Okay, sir.
All right, big guy. Thank you. Good morning, Richie Rich. Aventin.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Steve. Good morning to our listeners, wherever you are.
What's happening?
And of course, you're listening to the Power Breakfast Show. You know, I heard you talking about, because I was waiting a little while, Ruben.
No, you had to do it in your Ruben voice.
I was listening about, you know, how dirty the country is and stuff. And I must admit, though, that even though Arima can get dirty at times, by and large, a lot of the times it is clean. Because you do have cleaners that start very early in the morning, you know, walking along the street, picking up whatever idle rubbish people would have thrown on the street, that sort of thing. So by and large, sometimes when I'm driving out of Arima at 6, half 6, 7, 8 in the morning, I find it is relatively clean. And because sometimes you have a very, very clear view because not much humans are about. And you could see straight down, and it looks pretty clean to me. So, I mean, I can't speak for Port of Spain generally.
But when last did you come into Port of Spain proper?
No, but I mean, you come into Port of Spain proper to navigate to get uptown. But
when last did that?
Maybe a couple of days ago, but I don't usually traverse the whole length of the Brandara Promenade. I just go up whatever respective street. But a lot of the streets in Port of Spain are still very bad in terms of potholes and stuff like that, even though I know they have paved some, because you can tell which ones they've paved because it's obvious.
Yeah.
But so many are still very potholed and horrible. And
let's take, for example, Richard.
I don't know what they're waiting on to do it, because I know they have this aggressive road paving program. But with regard to the gangs that you saw last night on television walking, they have said this issue about gangs getting a little bit more organized, and you've had home invasions with several people and stuff. This is not new, absolutely new. I think the video is what was absolutely new yesterday, because they had Spring Village, I think, and they had that issue with the guys pelting whatever sort of gang warfare that was taking place in Second Caledonia and Morva. And I saw that the police said they were worried, at least according to the news said that the police said, with regard specifically to the one in Second Caledonia where the guys were pelting these Molotov cocktails at whatever house and caused roughly $1 million in damage. And you obviously, there was video footage, so obviously you can tell, even if people are masked, I maintain that you can figure out who these people are, because they're generally from the area and people know your body language.
Exactly.
And the issue of the TTPS, according to the news last night, the news said the police were concerned about how organized these gangs are becoming or something like that. Quite frankly, TTPS, if that was in fact a public communique from you to the media house, it is unsatisfactory. If this is what was reported, let me contextualize it again by saying this is what the media said, that the police said last night in news. I was utterly disappointed if that's what the TTPS. We don't want you to talk to us about how organized they are. We know that they are organized. We live here.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of something being called a gang means, by the very nature of the name, that people have coalesced into a group which is organized. That's what the term gang means. Okay? So we understand that concept. What I preferred that the TTPS would have said last night to the media is we are actively looking at all of the footage concerning this incident, and we are actively tracking down all of the perpetrators with regard to this criminal offense, and we are not going to allow this kind of thing to perpetuate throughout the country. This is also linked in a parallel way to what we see going on in Spring Village via video footage last night, and we have units investigating who these people are. That's what you want to hear, TTPS. I don't want to hear something and you're saying that, they're getting more organized. Talk about that in your national security meetings. That's not the message that you want to come out to the citizenry. That's as basic as ABC, in my opinion. So I found that very disappointing. But as I said, and I contextualized it with a caveat from at the beginning by saying that's what the media house reported. But it's an absolutely ineffectual media message that contributes nothing to the psychological safety of the citizens in thinking that you're mobilizing and stopping this in its tracks. And that's the kind of response and robust response that you need in terms of dealing with incidents like that and making sure that people are held accountable so that those kinds of incidents are stopped in their track. That's the kind of response you need. You need something robust with regard to that. Now, on the flip side, there is a good story with the TTPS. I don't know if you all had mentioned this previously about the graduation night.
Yeah, we did on the weekend.
Well, it could not be on the weekend. It only came out
Thursday, I believe.
With escorting the guy.
Yeah.
To the graduation. No, that's a positive news. But I mean, that's positive news about the TTPS. And what was really good about that article about them escorting this, and of course, for those of you who don't know, a young man was on his way to his graduation with his mom and his dad, and the car got just stopped, shut down at a particular point. The father went to the gas station.
In crossing.
Yeah.
It is dangerous.
Up alongside the car, and the mother was a little apprehensive because she knew they had shut down in a peculiar spot. But they came out and they were very warm and engaging, and they went to the gas station to assist the father, got the car started, and they gave them a police escort to the graduation with sirens blaring and stuff. So the guy arrived in true fine form, as if he was an important, member of the state in the sense of like some dignitary graduation. So that's another positive story too. On a flip side, so really good that those kinds of engagement with the members of the public and the warmth and human warmth that you show goes a long way in people appreciating what you do. And we understand you're Trinidadians and Tobagonians just like us. And I know sometimes people get a little intimidated when they have interactions with the TTPS. And sometimes, of course, they do react because sometimes you do have hostile members of the TTPS in that interaction or not very customer service friendly. But certainly this was one that was not like that. Even though my interaction with a lot of them has always been, well, not always, but by and large have been friendly when you interact with the TTPS. But ultimately, in terms of the criminal, the crime situation in the country, and especially with regard to those groups of fellas and you had two incidents last, and as I said in the news, with regard to that second Caledonia incident and one in Spring Village, because I think they interviewed Khadija Amin, because I think it's probably in her area. It is in her area concerning the incident. That's the kind of response I want to suggest to TTPS, and that's the kind of public relations response that you want to give. Because what stops that is people being caught. It takes me back to when England had these riots and all of these hundreds and hundreds of young people with masks and were attacking and looting stores and everything like that. And we saying, wow, what the hell is going on in England? A couple months later, after that incident, hundreds of people were arrested. They didn't care if you
Why?
had on a mask. They
No.
tracked you down.
And how they did that?
Tracked you down. And that's the kind of robust response you require in dealing with incidents. They have to understand that a mask is not some sort of firewall that we can't get you. That's what they have to understand. And that's the kind of messaging, in my opinion, that the TTPS should be translating out to members of the public, because the criminal element will hear you. And if they see people being arrested and in a public way giving updates about, well, out of the 7 guys, we have gotten 3 so far, but we are confident that all 7 will be in custody within a week or within 2 days. That's the kind of response that you want. That's what stops it. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that. With regard to that gang warfare and stuff like that. I see that banks now, that's coming still, I mean, unfortunately, we still are stuck with crime because all of these media stories are coming out. But on a positive side, with regard to crime, banks are obviously now planning to spruce up their security. Unfortunately, we have reached this point. Banks have decided to spruce up their security at ATMs because there have been incidents with people being robbed from ATMs. So they're planning to spruce up security. I don't know what that means. It's in conjunction with the TTPS, and I'm not so sure who else. I know they fight back against ATM bandits. It's one of the headlines today in the newspapers. They are finalizing a plan with Crime Stoppers and TTPS. And that's another thing too. There are things, because people who are robbing people from ATM is usually also part of some organized circuit. It's probably not as random as you think. And you can have sting operations to deal with situations like that, which is something Wendell and I discuss all the time. What kind of sting operations are you having with regard to issues like that? But anyway, the banks have taken note, and it is one of the headlines in the papers today, which we will get to shortly. With regard to bankers fighting back, they're concerned about increasing robberies, and they're finalizing a plan with Crime Stoppers and TTPS. But they're also calling on, of course, members who are using ATMs to be vigilant. Unfortunately, well, you have to be vigilant, but you shouldn't have to be. But you have to be. But you shouldn't have to be. That ultimately is what you want. So that's just some of the stories this morning. Of course, on the economic side, which was good news, which I think the Minister of Finance articulated. I'll just get touching on different topics quickly this morning before we get to the news headlines and, of course, eventually to the morning poll. The issue of Moody's rating for Trinidad and Tobago. It was a positive rating, actually, and we actually moved up. We're still rated BA, but moved from stable to positive. Which is a good rating. So kudos to the Minister of Finance, because he must have been very pleased to have said that, that we got a positive rating, because if it's a negative rating or the rating goes down, he gets a lot of flack with regard to commentary from members of the public, etc. So that it's moved from stable to positive with Moody's is a good sign. And I don't know if we're going to be speaking to an economist today, this morning, which is going to probably better contextualize that and what that means. I'm moving to positive. Of course, Moody's did say that there's still more work needs to be done in diversification, but obviously some of the work being done in diversification is bearing fruit. At least that's what I took away from it. But we'll see. So if we're speaking to an economist this morning or later on in the week, well, later on in the week just means tomorrow, because we are on Thursday. Woo! Yeah, so we'll see if that's what's going to happen. If we speak to an economist, what that means and how much diversification and how much positive diversification is taking place with regard to all of the support infrastructure that the state has in terms of assisting businesses to get more and more better equipped to compete. So good news with regard to Moody's and the upgrading of our rating. Even though we were left at BA, it moved from stable to positive. So that's some good news. And at this point, what time is it? Let me check. It's now 6:36 a.m. So it's a good time for me to get into the headlines. So I will now do so. So I will start with the Daily Express. And the Daily Express for this morning, House of Murders Man. Let me start that again. House of Murdered Man's Mother firebombed. Gang war over CPEP contract. That's how the Daily Express this morning listed that headline. Gang war over CPEP contract. House of Murdered Man's Mother firebombed. And there is a picture, there is a snapshot of the CCTV footage of the guys who did this. And of course, so the fiery attack, as the screen grabbed from CCTV footage yesterday, a man wearing a hoodie and a bandana on his face throws a Molotov cocktail to set fire to the home of the mother of Reynald Victor Inset. Thank you, Express, for printing black against black of the picture. It makes it very easy to read. You all could have done it a little bit better. Anyway, that's it. Other subheadlines: Spring Village residents under siege and banks fight back against ATM bandits. That's the front page of the Daily Express this morning. And on the back page, poor start, switched on Althnase shines on debut, but West Indies crumble on day one. So the West Indies is still playing cricket, and they had a... I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. West Indies is still playing cricket.
I didn't even... All I saw is Wendell saying he's disappointed. I even worried to check the score.
So but anyway, it's a poor start to day one, and that's all you need to know. And South Football Club's blank meeting. I'm not too sure what meeting that is, but if you do know, that's what it says. So that's the front and the back of the Daily Express for today. I'll move straight along to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. And of course, today is usually where they have the Business Guardian inside. Concerned about increase in robberies, bankers fight back. That's the headline that the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian went with. And of course, today is Thursday, July 13th, 2023, just in case you didn't know. The Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago is finalizing plan with Crime Stoppers and TTPS, calls on members to exercise vigilance. Toddler dies in Matelot. Widow seeks damage from Nikwan and Massey. And that's it. There was a story. I'm not too sure if this is the story about, they're talking about this little girl who died in Matlot.
I didn't know about that.
The Eastern Regional Health Authority has launched an investigation into the death of 3-year-old Ariab Shepherd. Shepherd's relatives said they are convinced that had there been a proper ambulance service for residents of Matlot, the toddler would be alive today. Very sad story. But there was some
that's another thing that I actually spoke to someone about yesterday. The length of time it takes for an ambulance to reach you, 45 minutes to an hour, is unacceptable.
But I don't know. They had improved on those times. I don't know. They've fallen back now. I don't know.
Oddly enough, last night I had a show that I've never seen before, a rescue show. It's at 8 o'clock last night on ABC or something like that. And where people called and said they have an emergency. Yeah, we'll be there in 2 minutes. We'll be there in 3 minutes. We're 1 minute out. And I'm going, we going for 45 minutes? And we just
but as I said, I don't know. I know they had improved on their times, but I don't know. Of course, This is Matlot, but you're supposed to have some way of dealing with those outer areas. And I'm not. And now,
Yeah, but
I was going to say that there was a news item last night where a mother refuted the report that a child had died and said that the child was actually in the hospital, but the media had indicated that the child had died. And the mother was saying, no, the child is not dead. And contacted, I think it was TV6, and said, no, the child is not dead. The child is in hospital and is warded currently. And now I'm not so sure if it's this child or if it's some other child. But I know that did come across news last night when I was watching it. But that issue of ambulance, that's another thing to be held accountable. And I know it's a private company that supplies the ambulance service. Can't remember the name. But
GRM.
again, accountability. You should have ads, whether it's Ministry of Health or you as the private owner of the ambulance, and says, our response time from the time you call to an ambulance arriving at the scene of any incident, a best practice is 5 minutes. If we do not meet this benchmark, please call 800-HELP, whatever it is. That's how you deal with customer service and accountability in improving your service. But of course, if your service is rotten, you can't put up an ad like that.
No, you can't.
Now, I'm not saying, let me say once again, I'm not saying that their service is rotten. I'm just saying that that's how you market yourself as being an efficient service. That's how you do it. You hold yourself accountable by giving timelines that you are to meet. Now, I know when we were speaking to some ambulance, I can't remember if it was members of the company a couple of years ago.
GRM, CEO of GRM.
I think this was pre-COVID. I think it was.
It was
pre-COVID, where they talked about the gurneys being kept in the hospital, which caused the problem because they weren't getting back their gurneys because the hospital was short of their own gurneys to put people. So they have to wait on their gurney. So while they're waiting for the gurney, they can't respond and leave with the ambulance, which is ridiculous and unacceptable.
Paul Anderson.
The Ministry of Health needs to buy 1,000 gurneys. Buy the bloody 1,000 gurneys.
Paul Anderson of GMR is who we spoke to.
Yeah, so I remember that being a problem that was affecting the efficacy. Yeah. But anyway, but as I said, if you are serious about holding yourself to a standard, and you should always aspire to be world class. Aspire to be world class. Don't aspire to be the best in Trinidad. Aspire to be the best in the damn planet.
Yes.
Okay. I totally agree with you. Let me move on with the newspapers. I get inside.
Oh, I thought you finished.
No. So bankers fight back. Widow seeks damages for Nikwan and Massey. And on the back page of TNT Guardian, Windies crumble on first day. That's all you need to know. And now the final of the 3 dailies this morning, the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. The main headline, 1 week after cyber attack on AG, judiciary's tech down. And that's a huge problem because, of course, the judiciary certainly celebrates its online infrastructure and its ability to do a lot of its job online. So that's a big deal. So 1 week after cyber attack on AG, judiciary's tech is down. I don't know if it's back up as yet. I haven't gotten any word that it has been. But hopefully it's resolved sooner rather than later, because that's, very difficult for hundreds, if not thousands of people across the country. Fantastic 4 graduates of Bishop Anstey High School East and Trinity College East post some pics at their graduation ball at the Hyatt Regency Port of Spain on Tuesday. So there's a picture of the young ladies, which is a nice picture to see, all smiling. It's nice to see pictures like that on the front page. 78 Venezuelans released from heliport. And that's it for the front page of the Newsday. On the back page, Ashwin takes 5 on day 1 as hosts all out for 150. India topple West Indies. Well, actually, India topple Windies is their
three-day match. Wendell, a 3-day match, way.
TT men beat Leewards in under-19 cricket. And that's it for our 3 dailies this morning.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So we could go to the poll this morning. What was the poll
Well,
yesterday?
let me give you the results of our poll from yesterday. Are you concerned about the spread of monkeypox in Trinidad and Tobago? Yesterday we did read a release from the Ministry of Health that we got a second case now. So yesterday our poll, are you concerned about monkeypox in Trinidad and Tobago? I'll tell you about the results in 20 seconds.
Christmas in July at Furniture Plus equals big mattress savings. Get a Queen Therapeutic mattress for just $799. Certain mattresses starting from just $999. Plus, save up to $2,600 on the luxurious Sealy Hybrid. Check press and social media for details.
All right. Are you concerned about the spread of monkeypox in Trinidad and Tobago? 58%, 58 said no, they're not. All right. Of course, I wanted to get into our poll, and someone had suggested a while ago, but let me just say hello to a few people that locked on earlier clock that I did not hail out. Mo Gaines, good morning to you. Beauty Culture, good morning. Ingrid Adams, Josie Richardson, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Donna Clark, good morning to you as well. As I opened up the lines early this morning, an individual had called us, said that we should have a state of emergency. Another one said we should have a curfew. Do you think that should happen? Maybe that should be our poll.
You could say that, but that's a generic kind of poll.
Yeah.
But we could say that. But I'm not a fan. I don't think states of emergency for that.
No, there's a lot of things that go into a state of emergency.
Well, but it affects businesses.
What about curfew?
It affects businesses. All of that affects people's lives.
Yeah.
It's very easy to say. It affects people's ability to move. It affects people's lives and all of that. And I get why people suggest it. But I think I've always maintained that the framers of the Constitution didn't intend that state of emergency be used for crime. It was really about a threat to an external threat to the state and the security of the state, like an attempted coup or things like that. That's what a state of emergency really envisages. But this is just, I don't want to say just, but this is crime that the national security infrastructure should be able to deal with. It's just like when you see all of these riots and stuff happening in France, or you see when they had those riots in what you call it, in the UK. It's TTPS office, not TTPS, it's police officers dealing with the issue. You seldom see them bringing in the army because they are dealing with it as a civilian issue. And now I understand the context is different in Trinidad, and of course it's something that people on the outside don't know.
What do you think the poll should be?
Are you confident that the TTPS will manage and solve the issue of gangs becoming more organized?
All right, so 222-8255, toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. That's our numbers directly into our studio. Once again, our morning poll.
Are you confident that the TTPS, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, will manage and solve the issue, or will handle the issue of gangs becoming more organized? That's our poll this morning. We can keep those other polls you just suggested, Steve, for when we're fishing for a poll.
Yeah. All right. So tell us yes or no. Give us a call, 222-8255, toll free, North Americans, 866-525-1099. On YouTube, you can send us a message and let us know where you're watching us from or messaging us from. And of course, on our mobile app, which you should have by now, and our website at power102fm.com. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Brandy. Absolutely not. That confidence gone long time now.
Oy. All right, Grandy. How's the weather? Oh, he's gone. I was going to ask him how's the weather this morning in Grandy.
Okay, Segoni. I said, okay, Segoni.
I'm not going there at all. Not going there at all. All right.
Are you confident that the TTPS will manage and solve, or are you confident that the TTPS will handle the issue of gangs becoming more organized? Let me just use the word handle rather than.
Yeah. Good morning, Lorna. Good morning, GNC Auto Security. Launch Park. Good morning. Whenever Moody downgrades TNT Outlook, the Minister of Finance always disputes their data and how it was analyzed. I wonder if the data will be disputed this time with the upgrade. Eddie, I'm just reading what Launchbox said. Eddie says yes. Launchbox says no to the poll. GNC Auto Security says no. Mr. Carapo, no. Oh, Lord, what name is that? Shushka logo? I don't know how you pronounce that, bro. Yes. Terry. Good morning, Terry, out in New York. How you doing? No. Kenny out in Harlem says no. What says you, caller? Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes or no?
No.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. No, not with the present staffing.
All right, thank you. Right, got Kenny. Michelle Phillip, morning, guys. No to the poll. Michelle, tell us where you're watching us from. We love to know where our peeps are. All right. So Michelle Phillip out in wherever. Beefy Smith, morning, Beefy. No, not at all. Thank you, Beefy. All right, so 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Are you confident that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will manage and handle the issue of gangs being more organized? Yes or no?
Yep, that's our poll this morning. So 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, toll-free, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, you can send your votes via the messaging portal on those platforms. People in other parts of the planet, if you wish to call in, it'll be 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255. Our poll, are you confident that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will manage and handle the issue of gangs being more organized? Of course, we had two incidents of that yesterday on the news, one in Second Caledonia and one in Spring Village.
Yeah.
So what's your take? Are you confident that TTPS will handle that? Yes or no?
Good morning, Lorna. Morning, Indy. And of course, special good morning to Carly. An emphatic no. Miss Ingrid, my answer to the poll is absolutely not no. And yes, we did earlier on. CJ from New York. Good morning. No way. Ish out in Malik says no. Michelle Phillip is out at Dabadi. All right. Sherry, good morning. No, not after I saw them burn. Saw 10 men burn down the house. Good morning, D. No to the poll. Gangs are a political tool used conveniently for votes through state contracts. Okay, D. So says, okay. All right. Are you confident that the TTPS will manage and handle an issue of gangs being more organized? Of course, I just spoke to Member of Parliament for San Juan Barataria, Saddam Hussein, and I said, you know what? We'll call you at 7:15. So we'll call him at 7:15 regarding the crime that's going on. San Juan, Aranguez, and Malik area is certainly getting hot.
So they're still taking your votes.
Sexy San Fernando. Good morning, Sexy San Fernando. No to the poll. All right, Sexy San Fernando, you should be leaving the house now. All right. We have 4.5 minutes again till our major news 7. Evie will be in. Slick Money Grip from Brooklyn, New York. Oh, that's where you're from. Slick Money Grip. Vote is no. Thank you, Slick Money Grip from Brooklyn, New York. I can't remember the last time I went to New York.
On our poll this morning, are you confident that the TTPS will manage and handle the issue of gangs being more organized? And of course, this is relative to two incidents that were in the media last night. One being the issue of the gang that firebombed a house in Second Caledonia. And, well, one of the newspapers is saying that that was a gang war over a CPEP contract.
Yeah.
I didn't get into the details of, but that's what one newspaper is saying. And the other one in Spring Village, where you saw gangs just going through this residential area where people are, and jumping and stuff like that.
That's worrying.
So you have that issue. So are you confident that the TTPS will manage and handle the issue of gangs being more organized? That's our poll this morning.
Ms. Ingrid says we need a state of emergency. Central Animal Lover says, good morning, guys. Yes to the poll under the right leadership. And Steve, how is your dad? Oh, Mom and Dad are doing great. Mom and Dad are doing great. You believe Richie Rich, their cardiologist, said he has never, ever had a couple that had to come in to have pacemakers put in. Because they both had pacemakers within 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, said never saw that. Josie Richardson, my answer to the poll is no. Trini out in Boston, I remain optimistic.
I think that's a yes.
I would assume. Peter locked on in Arima. Yeah. Good morning, Peter. Have you ever seen Richard walk in the streets of Arima? He says, no, I don't. I hope they are listening to how the people feel. Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's get some calls in. You have 2 minutes again. 222-8255. North Americans, toll free, 866-525-1099. We'll chat with Saddam Hussein coming up next hour. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I have absolutely no confidence. None in none of them. Thank you.
All right. Where are you calling from?
Arima.
Arima. Another Arima. Thank you, caller. Thank you, Arima.
I see good morning, Scorpion Pepper, who's on sending a comment on YouTube.
Yeah. So good morning, TNT and gentlemen. Who said we gentle?
That's Ray Ray. Good morning, Ray Ray.
Yeah, Ray Ray.
Donna Clark. Good morning, guys. I think that the Commissioner of Police should realize that she is not able and resign the job and let them bring someone who's able to do the job.
Miss Ingrid said too many home invasions. Yes. Too many.
So our poll this morning, as we are coming to the 7 o'clock, the point of 7 o'clock news, our poll this morning, are you confident that the TTPS will manage and handle the issue of gangs becoming more organized? That's our poll this morning. Did we get Carol Guevara's vote yet? She says, good morning, I'm optimistic.
No, I didn't.
All right, so I'll take that vote. That's a yes, obviously.
Morning, Carol. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, big guy.
With respect to the poll. Yeah, good morning. With respect to the poll, for the 26th time, no. All right?
Scorpion Pepper, of course, is not confident at all on YouTube. And he's saying if illegal gangs are being legitimized through government contracts, how can TTPS be organized against them? It seems to be a contradiction to me. And Gloria, oh my goodness, what is this? Gloria Gray? Is it Gloria Gray?
Gloria
Gray says, good morning. All New Jersey is watching. My answer is no.
Gloria Gray, are you watching this on your television? Beauty Culture says, no, I'm not. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Leonard Naipaul.
Morning.
And says what?
Your vote, Zena. Wake up.
I am up.
Yes or no?
Nah, don't pin me down to that just so.
It's a poll. It's yes
they
or
need
no.
help. They need some help. I think it's time to call in the army and lock down and search.
So your answer to the poll would be?
Kind of no. And
All right.
yes,
That's
I still
all.
have a little confidence.
All righty.
Well, I put that as a no. Since you said the
said
word
no.
no.
He said no. She said no. Ms. Maloney, hell no. Damn annoyed. Calm down, Ms. Maloney. Calm down. Come on line with me in the pet shop later. Leonard Naipaul, morning to you, buddy. Says he did a Chauvin. You know how Chauvin is go, Evie?
No.
Hold on. Let me put on your mic. Do it again.
No.
All right. Thank you, dear. Thank you, Leonard. Terry.
Good morning.
Terry in New York, the gentleman, I feel that TBS is trying, but they can only work with what they are given. Also, the entire judicial system is in dire need of upgrading. Without the proper tools and the backing from the Ministry of National Security, we'll see legal gangs, in brackets TDPS, versus the illegal gangs. Just my simple opinion. Thank you. All right, Terry in New York. Leonard and Naipaul. All right. We'll chat with Saddam Hussein next after 7 o'clock news, which starts.
Good morning, Evie.
Good morning, Richard. How are you, my darling?
I am good. You sound great.
Thank you so much, Richard. I'm always happy to hear you. Always.
All right. You have a great day.
You too, honey.
All right. Bye-bye.
You all finished with it now?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're finished. We're finished.
All
right.
Yeah. So let me give the BBC. Let me give the BBC voice, Steve.
Hold on, BBC voice. Hold on.
What is my BBC voice?
Wait. Richard is going to do it. In 3, 2, 1.
Go, Richard.
News on Power 102 is next.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Trinidad and Tobago records its second case of monkeypox virus. CCHR says it's deeply concerned that police arrested Venezuelan migrants who held registration cards and children during a raid on Sunday. And the Bankers Association says several safety measures have been put in place to apprehend any individual engaging in any type of criminal activity against banks or customers. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sentel-Bab. Good morning. A second case of the monkeypox virus was confirmed via laboratory testing earlier yesterday. The patient is a young adult male. The Ministry of Health says the relevant county medical officer of health is currently conducting an epidemiology investigation and has initiated the local public health response, which includes home isolation and contact tracing for the patient. The Ministry of Health will continue to provide updates to the public as necessary. Further information on the monkeypox virus can be found at the Ministry's website at www.health.gov.tt/monkeypox. Yesterday, the health minister said there was no need to panic and gave the assurance that there would be no massive lockdowns or restrictions similar to those seen during COVID. He told the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital yesterday that unlike COVID, the country has vaccines in stock. He also revealed that over 96% of Mpox cases come from the Americas and Europe. And as a result, he says persons who have either visited or interacted with persons who visited countries within both regions need to be careful. Executive Director of the Caribbean Center for Human Rights, Denise Pitcher, says it is deeply concerning that police arrested Venezuelan migrants who held registration cards and children during a raid in St. James last Sunday. In 2019, government registered approximately 16,000 Venezuelans who traveled to TNT to escape adverse conditions in their country. The registration cards allow them to leave or live and work legally in TNT. However, Pitcher said the apparent mishandling of the exercise and the detention of people who police should not have detained further demonstrates the urgency with which TNT needs legislation to cater to migrants and refugees. She maintained that there must be legislation to guide the state's response, and without it, TNT continues to put vulnerable people at risk, exposing them to trauma and the burden of the courts with avoidable legal challenges. Well-defined policies and extensive stakeholder consultations have been cited as key factors in reducing conflicts or even lawsuits which can arise relating to the current education system. It's a point that was raised by technical advisor of the Division of Education, Research and Technology, and second during the afternoon Power Drive program on Power 102 Digital on Wednesday. Ms. Second said young people want to express themselves and shouldn't be a part of this, or should be a part of discussions on matters which will eventually impact on them and their parents and guardians. Recently, the Ministry of Education said individual schools are mandated to form a committee to determine their school year rules, which must align with the National School Year Code. It said this committee will comprise representatives of students, staff, and parents. Schools should formulate their school year rules by October 2023, a copy of which must be submitted to the line school supervisor before they are effected. Head of the Crossroads Freedom Project, Shabaka Kambon, said this organization is ready and willing to share its expertise gained locally, regionally, and internationally on issues related to this topic and is eager to work with the Ministry of Education. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. The Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago says several safety measures have been put in place to apprehend any individual who engages in any type of criminal activity against the banks or its customers. BATT says it remains concerned about the recent reports of robberies that seem to be related to cash withdrawals from various financial institutions. With regards to the new fraud topology, BATT says there have been no shimming incidents across all banks in Trinidad and Tobago. The new chip technology rolled out by all member banks prevents the successful swiping of cards locally. BATT remains committed, it said, to working with all key stakeholders and its customers to ensure a safe environment is created while banking, and in instances where any criminal offense is committed, the perpetrators are brought to justice. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, sunny, hazy, and breezy conditions are expected, despite a few brief showers occurring. Tonight will be fair but hazy with occasional showers likely after midnight. A moderate concentration of Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere, so persons who are susceptible to these changes in air quality are being advised to take the necessary precautions. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 32 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 31 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature at both localities is 27 degrees Celsius. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock. Trinidad and Tobago records its second case of the monkeypox virus. The CCHR says it is deeply concerned that police arrested Venezuelan migrants who held registration cards and children during a raid on Sunday. And the Bankers Association says several safety measures have been put in place to apprehend any individual who engages in any type of criminal activity against banks or its customers. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, and welcome to the second hour of the Power Breakfast Show. It's Richard Raghubar singing, myself, Steve Khan. We got Ruben in the mix somewhere. He's in the background. He's doing all the background stuff that you don't see. All right. So thank you so much. Let's take a look at what's happening traffic-wise on this fourth day of the school holiday. Santa Rosa heading towards O'Meara. You got some traffic heavier approaching O'Meara. Let's see. Trin City towards Macoya, not too bad, a little volume, but heavier from there. On the highway as you head westbound. Barataria, the Port of Spain, you've got it. By Arima Old Road on the Eastern Main Road. Also got some traffic. Macoya Road, go through Tudupuna. Nothing out to the west so far. Let's head down south. See what's going on there. Nothing really to tell you about in south. Riverland Road, not too bad at all. The usual volume, I Chase Village to Sugarguana, so you've got some traffic there. And that's it. That's it, traffic-wise. All right. All right, so we are back in. Richie Rich, you there? I got some other votes for you. Ms. Maloney says special good morning to Mrs. Avril. Do have an awesome day. All right. Scorpion Pepper says, wow, the Bankers Association, this took way too long. All right, on YouTube, on Gloria Gray. Thank you so much. All right, Rich, I've got Oliver Man Warren saying no. Miss Ingrid also says, I worry about my family members because of all the home invasions and cold-blooded murders. Totally agree with you there. I know a lot of people are worried about their family. Those that live abroad worry about their families down here and what they hear and what they see, because they get the videos as well. All right. So you got my no from Ollie, Rich?
Yeah, I did. So our poll this morning, if I may give the results, our poll this morning, are you confident that the TTPS will manage and handle the issue of gangs becoming more organized? We had 33 people voting on the poll in the allotted time. Of the 33 people voting, 28 of you said no, you do not have confidence that the TTPS will manage and handle this. And 5 of you said yes, you do have confidence that they will get control of that situation. So 28-5 is our result this morning. Of course, you can continue to vote.
Vaughn Drayton just stepped in with a no.
Or I'll take it up to 34.
Yeah. Anthony Tinto, good morning to you. Oh, you didn't vote. Okay. Yeah.
So that's 34. So 29 would have said no. 5 people would have said yes. So, so that's our votes for this morning. Of course, you can continue to vote on the poll throughout the day, through our programming, and we'll give you the final result tomorrow morning, which will be Friday. Of course, the weekend begins tonight, people. At a second after midnight, we move into Friday, and guess what? It's the weekend. And of course, you know, that's always a great time for us at the Power Breakfast Show. We love the weekend like no other morning program, I guess, on the planet. We certainly love a weekend. I wanted to see where they're talking about this gang warfare. There's an article on it. A gang war with CPEP contracts is raging from behind bars as 2 jail gang leaders continued their fight for control of contracts in the Morva area. At least 10 young men yesterday firebombed the house of the mother of a man who was shot dead in Samoa on Tuesday. The ambush in Samoa near the Kwezi, which claimed the life of Reynold Victor, 43, also left 1 woman in critical condition and 2 men injured when gunmen opened fire on Victor at 2nd Street. Victor was the brother of one of the gang leaders involved in the war for contracts. Police confirmed the ongoing conflict between the 2 gang leaders, currently in jail on murder charges.
Yeah, all right.
Senior police sources said Victor was the brother of a gang leader who is known in the criminal underworld as Fox.
Yeah.
So that's some
I keep saying where the dramas any prisons, but anyway, we do have Saddam Hussein, member of Samoa Barataria Online. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you all doing this morning?
Not bad. We haven't spoken to you in so long.
I know you all forgot me. I came by your doorstep, Steve, earlier last week, and you weren't home.
I don't get home till like 7 o'clock in the night.
Yeah, we were by you about around 5 o'clock there.
Oh, really? You brought doubles?
Well, no, the price is still high according to the Prime Minister. So.
Oh, you know when you come in by me, I love my doubles. You can always walk with a doubles with plenty pepper. That's all. All right. So good morning, Saddam.
Good morning.
Just quickly, how's the campaign trail going?
It's heating up. As you know, it's a very long campaign season. We still have about a month and a day again before poll day. So it's a long season, but it's enjoyable. Positive feedback so far on the ground. I've been focusing a lot in Barataria proper so far, and there are the other districts we'll look at also. As you know, that we have an accommodation in the Sour Lavendale Corporation with the UNC and the NTA. So those are some exciting stuff coming up.
All right. Well, wonderful. So San Juan Barataria getting hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
if
getting
you can give us an overview, Saddam, on what kind of crime problems that area is experiencing currently. I mean, I suppose everywhere across the country has some level of crime that they're interfacing with. What's your overview of the Sama Barataria area?
So let me just put things in a little perspective. When someone hears sour, they believe that Barataria is sour. The constituency encapsulate the entire of sour. That is not so. Sour spans several constituencies. So it's Barataria San Juan, it's St. Joseph, and it's also part of St. Anne's East. It trespasses on three various constituencies. But yes, I can tell you that there has been an increase in the criminal activities in the area. Very gruesome. I can tell you just earlier this week, we saw a shooting. It was reported that it took place around 8:55 a.m. On corner of 2nd Street and Sadler Road. Steve knows exactly where that is. It's almost on the heart of the Quasi. It's a stone throw away from the Sawa substation, the police substation. It's a busy, crowded area, if you know it, where it is. And for something like that to happen in broad daylight, it shows the bravery of the criminals and that they're now offending with impunity. It's really, really frightening, and it's in fact disgusting the behavior of the criminals in this country. Yesterday I walked Barataria, Steve, around 9th Avenue, 10th, 11th, 12th Street, and we have had reports of some petty crime in the area. I got reports of some home invasions in other areas, and this is across the board.
I don't know if you saw if I may interrupt you, Saddam, I don't know if you saw the media last night, because the subject of our poll this morning was, are you confident that the TTPS will manage or get a handle on gangs becoming more organized? On the media last night and during their respective news, they featured two videos. One of the gangs firebombing a house in 2nd Caledonia in Morva, and the second one, Spring Village, in Valsayn, where you had these guys moving through a residential area, with bandanas, etc., and jumping fences and stuff like that. And of course, the TTPS was reported as saying that they are concerned about gangs becoming more organized, even though, as I said this morning, I don't know about being more organized, because the nature of the word gang implies organization. So I don't know how much of that sense of organized gang activity is taking place in your area. And how concerned are you as a member of the opposition, and does the opposition have some sort of plan in negotiating with the current administration with regard to dealing with this issue?
Okay, so there's several points to raise there. In terms of the organization of gangs, I think we have seen reports, I can't confirm this, I'm not part of the national security apparatus, where there have been a lot of reprisals with respect to gangs. And I think that was part of what was attributed to some of the spike in some of the shootings. In terms of the home invasions, yes, there's a spike in home invasions in the area. Um, with respect to that being gang related, we have to ask the TTPS to really give us the intelligence or the information with respect to the gang relation in terms of the home invasion. Um, I can't confirm or deny that part of it, but the situation is unsatisfactory. Um, the other point you raised in terms of the strategies going forward are these. Um, we in the opposition had outlined various measures, stand your ground principle, making firearm ownership easier and more accessible to business people and those who deserve it and who are allowed to hold firearms. And he said is securing communities through the establishment of gated communities in various areas to try to prevent criminals from going into persons' homes. Those are just three of the strategies that we have raised as the opposition for the government to consider. I think the Prime Minister made various unfortunate remarks with respect to one of those ideas, and I think he was condemned by the Council for responsible behavior during the campaign period for those statements. We have been asking for those plans to be considered, but I don't know if the government is in a position to consider those plans. I'll leave that there as it is. Whether
But I
the
mean, I
opposition,
don't know
we
that.
have,
I mean, I hear you, and I don't know that I personally want a country with more and more gated communities. It almost seems as if it's another level of burglar proofing, because
oh
you have
no,
one level of burglar proofing that houses have now, and then you're putting another level of burglar proofing by having a gateway or some
yeah,
way, some restricted access to communities.
and
It's
and
to
and, and,
me that seems more like giving up rather than solving the issue.
and I would want to, while I accept that that is your personal view, the views of other persons out there that they want it, um, and that is what would have informed one of that being one of our plans. The other point in that is that there are criminological theories to prove that you can fight crime through environmental design, and that's just one of them. There
Well,
are
I'm a big
several
fan
theories
of
to prove it.
crime reduction through environmental design, or crime prevention through environmental design, which is CPED.
Yeah,
It's tested and tried in certain cities, and of course, it calls for redesigning our cities, or when redesigning our cities, taking that into consideration. I also believe aesthetics matter.
mhm. No, I agree
I
with you,
believe that the more disciplined an environment looks, it
but
psychologically instills more discipline in the humans who occupy those spaces.
can
Um,
we continue with the current status quo?
well, no, we can't. But you have,
Right.
but Saddam, you have billions of dollars being spent by both your administration previously when they were in power, this current administration on the national security infrastructure, billions of dollars of taxpayers' money being spent by
Mhm.
both administrations on the national security infrastructure, and yet both of them being unable to solve this problem to the satisfaction of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. What
So, so,
accounts for
if
that?
I, if I may, I 100% agree that billions have been spent on national security. And where are the targets? Where are the measurables to measure whether we get value for money? We are yet to see that in terms of. Let me give one example: CCTV. CCTV footage is probably one of the best evidence we can use sometimes for detection. It can go towards the criminal justice system and also to prove whether the offense occurred or not. Um, Time and time again, we ask the government through the Minister of National Security to account, well, how many of these CCTV cameras are working? We get an answer of 47%. Unacceptable. In the last budget, the Prime Minister announced that there will be an introduction of 5,000 additional cameras throughout Trinidad and Tobago with various command centers set up in different areas of Trinidad. I am yet to see those cameras being installed, any announcement that those cameras are in fact working. We asked the questions in Parliament. To that, we got the same answer of the 47% are working, whereas 53% of the infrastructure is down. This was a project that stemmed from the Manning administration to the Prasad Bisasa administration, now to the Rowley's administration.
When was the last time that you all asked the Prime Minister or the current administration about those cameras?
If I'm not mistaken, I'm subject to correction, that would have been during the mid-year review this year, which was in May. May we would have appropriated additional sums to the Ministry of National Security for those projects. And I mean, Richard, we live in a society now where AI technology is being developed, and yet we can't get simple things like CCTV cameras correct. Another thing, looking at staffing at the DPP's office, if we're going to talk about technology, we can't even get it right to properly house the office of the DPP. We saw recently the public spat between the DPP, the CJ, and the AG. I just want to go back to another point with technology. That killing that took place on 2nd Street this week, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if you all have this report also, is that one of the radio stations carried a report that the police believe that it was a hit call from inside of the prison. I don't know if you all have that report.
Yes,
yeah?
well, that's one of the headlines this morning on one of the daily newspapers connected to CPEP contracts, and two gangs are warring over CPEP contracts in that area, and the gang leaders are in prison on murder charges.
Right. Now, the reason I raise that issue is this. We have interceptors and jammers at the prison. Why aren't they working? How is it that cell phone calls are allowed to be made within the prison walls? You would have seen it circulating on social media that they make videos inside of the prison. And that really shows the robustness of our national security infrastructure, that it clearly needs work. It shows that it is weak. It shows that it is vulnerable. We have laws that are in place under the Interception of Communications Act to intercept communication within the prison and the prison vehicles. And yet, clearly, that isn't being used, because had they been able to intercept calls, they would then be able to detect where the instructions come from, who the instructions come from, and really take action. So what took place is quite unfortunate. Preventable, maybe, but it happened. And we have to now look, or not we, but really the TTPS, because they are the ones who have management over these resources and these powers, on how they are going to use it to the benefit of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. No, I take your point, because that has always been a long-standing issue, that issue of jammers at prison facilities. You're never sure if it's working or not. I remember when I used to go to the prison a lot, the one prison that I knew it did work was at the maximum security prison. Because oftentimes from the time you entered, the stretch to head towards that prison, that particular prison facility, your phone basically went dead. You couldn't get calls, you couldn't make calls. Now, I don't know if that still exists, at least with regard to MSP, or if that's now out the window, I have no clue.
Yeah, and you see and I don't expect that the government tells the whole nation what device or whatever they're using, but at least we need to have the assurance that they are working. Because at the end of the day, monies are being spent on that particular device or that particular infrastructure within the prison system. But if you realize that because that is what the reason why that amendment came to the Parliament. If I'm not mistaken, that would have come to us sometime in 2018 or 19. I believe I was still in the Senate at that time, that team. And the then Attorney General, Faris Al-Rawi, would have indicated that they were going to use this to really intercept calls from the prison. So we were then concerned, why are you intercepting? Why are you intercepting calls in the prison when, in fact, no call should have been made from the prison? Let's start there. And if calls are being made, they should now be monitored, especially when they come from prisoners. Um, we have no update on that particular matter. So the point
Yeah.
really is, are the resources being used? Are the TTPS, the various arms, SSA, speaking to each other, or are these information being siloed? We have had reports in this country before that cost us millions of dollars because Trinidad and Tobago like to have reports, and that report would have spoken about siloing of intelligence and information because the TTPS is working on their own, SSA is working on their own, um, FIU is working on their own, and nobody stands to speak to each other. If you're going to fight crime, I believe it has to be a whole of government holistic approach going forward. It can't just be putting all the blame on one agency. It has to be holistic. And the Ministry of National Security is the coordinating body because at the end of the day, that is the ministry that sets the policy, one, and two, and gives the resources to these various arms.
You know, Trinidad and Tobago has a finite population. We are approximately 1.4. Let's be generous and include all migrants, etc., and say we are at 1.5. Why is it so difficult to manage a crime situation in a population of 1.5 million people, which is actually a suburb of some cities, some major huge cities? That's a suburb, and I think it's with consternation that so many Trinidadians and Tobagonians, and we're not a poor country by any standard, we devote a lot of monetary resources to the national security infrastructure, and yet in 2023 we are still in this place where we seem to be playing catch up to the criminal element, and the population is by and large the feeding ground for a lot of these miscreants and what they are doing. And we, of course, we don't get the sense, we understand the toxicity in politics, and we see it, not that we agree with it, but even on that issue, the opposition and the current administration can't unite with one voice and say, this is how we're going to deal with it. And that contributes, I think, to the criminal element and their psychological empowerment because they believe the toxicity of the politics means they can't agree on how to move forward. And in addition to that, the kind of messaging and public relations that you have coming out of the TGPS doesn't really make a robust stance psychologically against the criminal element. So you have all of these things contributing to what we would have seen yesterday with these two different groups of gangs on our television sets on the CTC with CCTV footage. Showing us these guys, and yet as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, we just kind of have to accept that pretty much we don't know if anything at all is going to happen. I know last night on news, Dr. Munilal talked about an urgent calling of a JSC. Well, I should say is reported by the media as calling for a JSC on national security with some degree of urgency. And I must admit, JSCs are the one place where you see some level of cooperation between the opposition and the current administration. Do you think that sort of JSC is going to yield any fruit, or is it just going to be another talk shop?
I can admit one thing to you all. In the parliament, I enjoy the JSCs more than the parliament sitting because it's that stage we actually hear from the technocrats in the ministries and not an answer being given by a minister that is sugar-coated. So you actually get what the real situation is. You actually get the facts of the matter. The JSC is very effective, and I can tell you this because you can summon the commissioner of police as a witness to appear before that committee to explain what next. So even if the commissioner decides not to speak to a media house because she doesn't like what they publish about her, she'll have to speak to the JSC and outline exactly what the facts are. What are your strategies going forward? I think this current commissioner set a target. Was it by June? We should have seen a reduction in crime.
The reduction in the murders, but then she retracted
In
it.
murders. Yeah, and that hasn't bear any sort of fruit. The GSEs are actually a very effective place to do it. But I want to go on another point that you made, Richard, in terms of a population of 1.3 to 1.4 now, and we can't get it right. And as a young person, I have a lot of friends, colleagues in my age group, and they're really seeing that they have no opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago anymore. And they're scared because of the current situation for themselves and their families. And what I'm actually seeing is a migration away from Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of persons are packing up and leaving. And we have some of the brightest leaving. We have some who have studied Trinidad and Tobago, has educated, will not be able to benefit from their skills because they just don't want to be here anymore because they are afraid that they're killed, that they can't survive here. And that is where we have become. And it's very unfortunate. I feel very sad about it at times, but that is our reality right now. Criminals are brazen. The TTPS has the laws, apparently, according to the Minister of National Security. They have the resources because they're not complaining about resources. So then, what is the issue? Is it a management issue? Is it an issue with getting all the various heads of national security around the table? What is the issue? And without me getting political here, these are facts that I'm going to indicate now. Is that at the end of the day, the Prime Minister is the head of the National Security Council. He summoned a meeting of CARICOM a month or two ago, costing us $3.4 million, declaring crime as a public health emergency. What has emerged from that symposium? What are the strategies we're going to use going forward? What are the plans that were devised in that symposium to try to arrest the crime situation? And where are the measurables? I have not seen it. I don't know if you shared a copy with you as members of the media, but I have not seen it.
No, I mean, I don't. At least I haven't seen anything with regard to that.
I haven't either.
But I don't know. I mean, it's
sad.
It's you have 41 people sitting in Parliament who are tasked and have been elected to deal with these issues. Now, I get it. The current administration is the one that absolutely has the power to do and change, but you need a unified front, which, of course, we don't see as yet with regard to both parties being able to coalesce, even to deal with something as serious as crime. I think a lot, and I hear you on that brain drain that's taking place, and the brain drain may be happening in the millennials at this point, but you also have Gen Zers coming up who are also not seeing Trinidad and Tobago as a place to invest their lives in. And that's a serious problem that's going to come and haunt us in not too distant future. Because to get out of this, you need the human resource investment.
And it's sometimes they don't have a decision because it's the parents who are the ones who are making decisions that they don't want that. You hear it often. I'm sure you heard it. They don't want their child to grow up here because they're afraid. Look at what is taking place in our schools. The level of violence in the schools. So it shows that the criminals, the criminal activities, the rates of delinquency are starting at very young ages. If you look at the statistics, you would see that the age group in which we have the majority of offenders are between 18 to 40, the median of that range being where the majority of persons who are detected to have committed crimes. Those are the statistics provided to us by the TTPS. So therefore, we know the age group, but what are we doing about it? It's not just arresting, locking up, sentencing somewhere, but you have to have preventative measures also. Youth programs, training programs, education. persons are idle. I could tell you the amount of persons, young persons, come to my office during office day for jobs. As an MP, the two major concerns you get during office day: one, housing; two, jobs. Those are the two top concerns that you get. In terms of national issues, it's crime and basically food prices, infrastructure. But the two major issues are housing and employment.
Do you think, I know some people in our discussion this morning on this program, some of our callers would have asked, or not asked, would have suggested that state of emergency is required to deal with the issue. Do you agree with that?
That is something I would not have a position on at this time. That requires a position from a caucus, and I am not at liberty to make a decision on behalf of a caucus.
Okay. Very diplomatic answer.
Yeah, boy.
Let's go to a little bit. I don't think if I'll talk a little bit about the economy, and of course, Moody's would have just increased our rating. They left Trinidad and Tobago at the BA rating, but moved us from stable to positive, which is moving us a notch up. Of course, which the Minister of Finance, of course, must accept this as good news among a climate where there is so much bad news. So how do you take that rating from Moody's? I mean, they did mention that there's more that could be done with regard to diversification.
So with respect to that rating, if you ask the average citizen if they agree that the economy is better, I don't think we're seeing the effects at the ground. Food prices are still soaring. We have persons still living paycheck to paycheck. We have persons who live on wages and salaries that are quite outdated. Those who may have accepted the 4%, those major unions that may have accepted the 4%, really their members are not so happy about. Some of their members are not so happy about it. So whether or not the persons are feeling the effects of this positive rating, I don't think they are feeling it. It augurs well for the country, but I don't think the general population feels that positive rating for the economy, because persons out here, I don't know if I'm exposed to a lot of persons, especially in my constituency alone, and I can tell you that we have a lot of persons who are in need of, I repeated, in need of jobs, and a lot of persons are in need of social services. And we have had various complaints of their social services being cut. I mean, I would write to the Ministry of Social Development, to try to get some level of relief for some of these individuals. And in some instances, I can admit that I would have received the assistance on behalf of various constituents. But I want to raise another point, which is this. Procurement. We are looking at the economy, we are looking at financial matters as a whole. On Sunday, I would have raised an exemption order with respect to the CARICOM expenditure heads of government meeting that Minister Imbert would have published as Minister of Finance, exempting the procurement of all goods and services for visiting heads of government from the Procurement Act, which was recently proclaimed, fully proclaimed. That act was proclaimed with the intention for more accountability, transparency, value for money, making the award of contracts in a more fair, equitable manner. And then, with the signature of a pen, the minister exempted all expenditure, and I think he averaged the cost of the event to somewhere between $9 million with zero procurement, no procurement whatsoever. And that was very concerning, because when the minister came to the House with that particular amendment for the power to make such an order, he indicated to the House in very clear terms that if he has to exempt any goods and services, he needs the affirmative resolution of Parliament, which means the approval of both houses, the House and the Senate. And that was not done. And that is why we have submitted that the order is in fact illegal. And
Are you all not challenging? You all are not challenging it in court?
yeah, so
Yeah,
pre-action
I thought I
protocol,
read that. I thought I read that. Yeah.
yeah, pre-action protocol letters were issued. The minister has a deadline by Monday 4 p.m. to provide a response, or we will be filing the appropriate action in the High Court. I am one of the attorneys on the matter, being led by Mr. Ramlogan SC and Mrs. Prasad Bisasa SC.
Right. The issue, do you think that the Procurement Act needs to be amended?
Oh no, I want to agree with. I don't know if you saw the comments of Afra Rehman. Afra Rehman had a very good view on it. The Procurement Act was an act of 2015. It was in 2015 that was passed. 8 years it took to be implemented. What the Procurement Act has is robust provisions to prevent leakages, to curb corruption, increase accountability, transparency. So therefore, the Act would have outlined various times in which things have to be done.
But don't you think it needs a minimum limit?
In terms of what they can procure?
In other words, right now, under the procurement legislation, and I am subject to correction if I have it wrong, but under the current procurement legislation, if you have to spend, let's assume you have to buy a television set, for example, for an institution.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go into courts or standards and buy it. You have to go through an entire process to acquire this television set that is roughly, you're probably spending $2,500, depending on what size you're spending. And so I know some agencies are saying, look, we need some minimum limit, whether it be 20,000 and less, that the procurement rules are not as rigid. Because sometimes you have to buy groceries, you have to buy, there are certain small items, if you've ever been in a public sector department, where there are certain expenses, that are pretty rote or may suddenly come upon you. And the entire full procurement for something that's below 20,000, whatever minimum figure you want, is onerous.
So my answer to that is I will have to just review that part of the legislation. But if I'm not mistaken, I think there are provisions. So like, for example, under the old Central Tenders Board Act, that was what was existing before the Procurement Act took in force. There was a minimum limit of $1 million that they could procure certain goods and services under. It was $1 million or 100,000. I can't remember offhand. But there was a limit. So therefore, you don't have to go out for tendering for certain things. The PS and the ministry can just acquire goods under that limit, award a contract for that amount.
I don't think the procurement legislation mimicked that.
So that
you
is
are right. You are right that previously that there was a limit, but I don't think there is a limit under the procurement legislation. So I think that's one of the hiccups that a lot of public sector agencies.
But I just want to. But I just want to focus on the exemption order. The justification the minister gave is that these things happen overnight and that expenses can crop up. I want to disagree with the minister because this CARICOM heads of government meeting was not planned overnight. It was not Lime or FET. These things take months in planning to get all the heads here because the technocrats work behind the scenes to put things in place so that when these heads meet, it's the ceremonial signing of agreements, exchanging of documents, and all of those other formalities. But the work is done way in advance. So the government must have been aware of what they had to spend money on. In the mid-year review in May this year, the government appropriated $20 million to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM Affairs for this particular 45th Heads of Government meeting and the 50th anniversary celebration. So for Minister Imbe to now justify that it's basically expenses that just crop up, I can't accept that argument or that explanation. The second thing is that he had exempted the services on the eve of the meeting, which was the I think it was the 30th of June, for a period of 3 months. Why are you exempting procurement for this meeting, this 5-day meeting, which ended on July the 5th, for 3 months? We have raised questions in terms of this is a campaign period, and there's no procurement whatsoever, no procurement procedure or rules or law, in fact, to follow because it has been exempted.
I don't follow. Explain that. Because the exemption order was particularly for CARICOM, not so?
Correct. The CARICOM order was published, and the order says that it's enforced for 3 months.
Yes.
From June. Correct? I have you there.
Yeah.
The meeting lasted 5 days, ended on 5th of July. Why is the minister exempting it for that period of 3 months?
No, I get that. I get that query, which is a legitimate query that you can ask him to explain. But what I'm not understanding is that the opposition is implying that it's a loophole to possibly spend money in terms of the LGE election coming up on August 14th. And I'm saying how? And I'm saying, how does that practically work? Give me an example of how that would practically work.
So this is a hypothetical situation. You could have double invoicing for certain goods and services being used for the CARICOM meeting, which can also be used for campaign period. Let me just give one small example. If you're having a meeting, you would expect there to be tents, chairs, whatever. Those things carry an expense with it. Those are some of the same items that can be used, that were used maybe at the CARICOM meeting, at certain events. So there are similar expenditure between both events. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm not implying that it happened, but I'm calling on the minister to now give us a detailed breakdown of all of the expenditure for these 5 days.
Okay, I hear you. Anyway, I mean, and we're about close to wrapping up the conversation. Will you be willing to take some calls from our listeners, Saddam?
Sure. I just have to run off at least by 8 because I have to prepare for court.
Yeah. We'll finish up.
No, we're just going to keep you on for like 3 minutes more. So
yeah, we do have some calls coming through here, Saddam. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Yeah, morning, caller. You there? All right, moving on. 222-8255. Toll free. North Americans 866-525-1099. Good morning, caller. All right, not there. All right.
Yeah. You know one of the concerns. I know the Procurement Act exempt.
What's that, Minister?
Your jammers and grabbers working better for one.
Apparently, we have some more calls coming through. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to the honorable MP. Great interview this morning. I want to ask you one question and make one statement. Mr. Hussein, does this matter with the Minister of Finance? Does it go all the way to the Privy Council? That's the first issue. And I also want to indicate to you that this evening, our REMA campaign office, UNC office, will be open. Thank you. 6:30.
Okay. All right. With respect to his query, the first query, whether it will go to the Privy Council, that is yet to be seen because the matter has not been filed as yet in court. We are at the stage of pre-action protocol. So once that procedure is exhausted and we finish with the High Court matter and the decision being given, then we will be in a better position to know whether we go to the Court of Appeal or the Privy Council. So that's the answer for that. With respect to the opening of the REMA office, I extend my congratulations.
Yeah. While we wait for some calls, MP, when you came by me the other day, did you realize there was some garbage outside?
Yep.
That's been there for going almost 2 months.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, you see, that's a good issue, raised, Steve, because persons, and I realized when I was walking, right, persons don't understand the difference between a general election and a local government election. So if I may, if you would allow me, is this. Persons don't understand the role of local government or what it means. And I think really we need to go on a drive, an information drive, to distinguish the roles between local government and central government. Because local government is meant to be the ones to deal with all of those issues with respect to secondary roads, deal with garbage collection, cleaning up secondary drains, and all of those things. And I can tell you that while the corporation right now that is being controlled, the UNC does not have control of it, and that should not matter because no matter whatever political party you belong to, it's the corporation at the end of the day that belongs to Trinidad and Tobago. So it shouldn't be that I beg for something to be done and it's not being done because I'm not from your party. And I think that level of that level of thinking has to stop with respect to simple things, because the garbage doesn't affect, as I said, UNC or PNM. It's a public health issue because you have rats coming out of that area and things like that. But I would look at that. Now, our councillor for the area is Kimberly Small. I don't know if you got into contact with her with respect to that issue. But
no.
The councillor, because of the expiry of the term. But she was the last councillor for the area of Miss Kimberly Small.
I did make a contact with someone at San Juan Laventil Corporation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're going to have to leave it this morning, Saddam, because we're approaching 8 o'clock at this point, and I know you also have to run off. I know for the procurement legislation, just one last point that I was thinking about it, and with regard to the exemption of legal services is exempted under the procurement legislation. I think they should also consider artistic services, because sometimes you want a particular artist or the work of a particular artist. Sometimes you may want a particular artist in terms of you may want, I'm talking about public agencies and public sector here, of course.
Yeah.
That you may want voice to be at an event, but how do you, because artistic work is so individualistic, it's strange for it not to have been exempted. Yeah, it's difficult. So it's going to
it's not only legal services, Richard. It's legal, it's medical, it's debt financing. Yeah, and I think accounting also. It's a series of services that were exempted in 2020 when Minister Mbit amended the act.
Right. So accounting, medical, legal, and I'm just saying that artists should be in there. That's what I'm just going to say. Yeah. All right, but thanks so much for the conversation this morning, Saddam. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Take care.
All the best to you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
And just before we go to the end of the show, I just want to go through some of our comments from YouTube. Leonard Nipel says the police department hands are tied up because the government may have to bring back capital punishment and shoot to kill. Leonard Nipel, that's controversial. And of course, can't just shoot to kill, democracy. Josie Richardson says, now kudos to the Bankers Association, but you know what? The increased cost is going to come out of our pockets. The failure of the protective services to control crime is costing us. Scorpion Pepper says, what is happening with the committee to address violence using the public health approach? Richard, I think it is a lack of real political will. Children are often in the crosshairs, and the wild, wild west has taken over when Trinidad and Tobago, the governments of Trinidad and Tobago don't care about the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And all of this is Leonard Nipel, and Trinidad and Tobago are voted by people to run Trinidad and Tobago safe for the people, not the criminals running the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks for your attention, the staff of 102 Digital. Thank you for all of your comments on YouTube this morning, and of course also on our regular app platform. Thank you for being interactive with us this morning. And of course, this is where we're just about to wrap up the program for this morning. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. And of course, the weekend begins tonight, people, at a second after midnight. Woo! I'm so looking forward to this weekend. I've had a hard week. So I am really looking forward to this weekend. So have a fantastic day, whatever you do. And remember to smile and laugh. It's good for your health. And despite the crime situation, Trinidad and Tobago is still a beautiful place.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Richard. Of course, I'll stick around after 8 o'clock. We'll take some of your calls. All right. Of course, tomorrow, full casting as usual. I think Paul won't be in, but Wendell will be in. All right. Let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief on this, the 13th day of July.